you today. It's Thursday, and it's another day of training and information to help you become a better writer or speaker for Christ. We're hosting this week and the last week of this month, we're hosting Christian conference directors. That is to help you pray and plan and consider which in the 3 months is what we're focusing on these months, these 2 weeks in November. In the first 3 months of 2019, how many conferences does Christ want you to attend? This is to educate you and give you insights and help you see what it's like and hear what it's like, what they're offering and so forth. I'm already getting ahead of myself. Oh, I get so excited when we're talking about this stuff. Does the thought of a speaking career send shivers up your spine? It doesn't have to if you know who you're gifted to serve and the message Christ wants you to deliver. Add business training and a professional video, and you can be on your way. Hi, I'm Patricia Durgan, and this is Marketers on a Mission. We present marketing tutorials and interviews by and for Christian writers, speakers, and artists. This is episode number 169. Speaker extraordinaire and conference director Tammy Whitehurst. Hello, Tammy.
Hello, it's great to be here, Patricia.
It's so fun. I know we're going to have a great time. I'm really looking forward to it. And there's so much to talk about for the Christian Communicators Conference. Let's just get right to it, shall we?
We shall.
Well, first we have to celebrate. Somebody had a birthday recently.
I did. And, I'm one of those women. I'm thankful for every birthday.
Oh, that's wise. That's a much better attitude than most of us have.
Absolutely, girl. I'm thankful for every birthday.
Didn't your mother also recently have one, Tammy?
She did. Her birthday is 2 days after mine. She was really hoping we'd be born on the same day, but it just didn't work out that way.
Yes.
But yes, she sure did.
That's fun. That's fun. Do you live close enough to her that you're able to connect with her regularly?
Every day.
Oh.
My mother lives about an hour and 15 minutes. I call her every single morning, but as far as she doesn't live very far, so it's easy for me to go see her too. Yeah.
Nice. That's just really nice. Really nice. Okay, so you are a speaker, a podcaster. You have a lot of fingers in a lot of pots, plus the conference director. You're one of 3 conference directors for the Christian Communicators Conference. Tell us, please, first about the podcast, if you would.
We have a podcast called joyforthejourneypodcast.com. And it's myself and another woman named Lauren Reeves. And we talk about subjects that are relevant to people today. And there are all kinds of subjects on there that you can go in and look at. But we get a lot of positive feedback from that. It's just real talk about real issues in a real world. So we don't try to be something we're not. We just take it from the standpoint of how does God want us to be in this situation? And that's what I love about it. I'm 51. Lauren is 37. And so you have a perspective from 2 different angles, and that is my favorite part of the whole thing.
Yeah. And it's going gangbusters, isn't it?
It is. We're so proud of it. Yes.
Maybe one day you'll come back and talk to us about marketing of that. We'll see. We'll talk about that after the program. We'll get back to you viewers and let you know about that. Also, you're a speaker. You really have a busy speaking schedule.
I thank the Lord for that. I do have a very busy speaking schedule, pretty much somewhere every weekend, unless I take a weekend off, and then a lot of times during the week as well. But I go all across the South, and a lot of times God will kind of plunk me up into the North, and I have to take this accent with me, Patricia.
I like the accent.
Thank you very much. But one time I did speak up north in Minnesota, and a little woman came running after me when it was over, and she said, I could just listen to you talk all day long because my husband passed away about 25 years ago, and I haven't heard that accent in 25 years. So it was wonderful. But the thing about Southern people is that so many times we think we sound like everybody else.
I was going to say, I don't really have an accent. I don't know what they're hearing.
Exactly. And I think you and I sound just alike, but the viewers will probably tell us otherwise.
Speaking of which, Cindy Sproles is here. Hey, Cindy, so good to see you. Always good to see you. Thanks for joining us. I just want to make one more comment about your speaking, and that is you spend too much time in Texas. You need to spend more time over in the Georgia, Florida area and the North and South Carolina. You could visit Cindy, and you could swing down and visit me.
I do it in a heartbeat, girl. I do it in a heartbeat. It's all about seeing people who are the same kind that we are. And I love interacting with those people. I love it.
Well, you also write articles, and I really like some of the titles for your articles. The one that really caught me is "Busyness is Not a Spiritual Gift." Okay, that hits me right between the eyes because that is not what our culture is telling us, is it?
No, it's not. And it's something that a lot of times, I really have to pull back at times. I have a granddaughter, and I keep her one day a week. And that is something that I love busy. Okay. I love to have a to-do list, and I love to check it off every day. And I love to know that I've got something else coming along. But I will say that when my granddaughter came along, it showed me that I had to be still and just kind of not check the list off that day. Yeah. So I kind of pulled everything into 4 days instead of 5 during the week. And I like life better that way.
It's worth it, isn't it?
It is worth it, yes.
Hey, Tracy. Tracy Bradford's here with us as well. Hey, Tracy, it's good to see you.
Hello, Tracy.
So tell us, Christian Communicators Conference, but there are 3 directors, co-directors, and we're going to talk about the 3 of you in just a moment. But first, tell us who started this, please, Tammy.
You know Vonda. I do believe you know Vonda. Vonda and then Carolyn Kneffley got this together, and they started this several years back. I actually went as a participant in 2014. Oh. Loved it. I try to go to speakers conferences at least once a year because, we've always got to have a teachable spirit, and we've always got to be learning. That's just part of it. The minute that we think we've totally arrived, we will begin to fall. That's the way it works. So we've always got to keep learning. So I went to this one in 2014. It was so good that when I came back, I told every speaker friend that I have how awesome it was. And when Vonda Skelton and Carolyn actually, they retired and they wanted to sell it. And I jumped with both feet in because it was the best speaker conference I had ever been to.
Wow.
And the reason why it was, and I can tell you that I would have never bought into it if it had not been. But the reason why I liked it so much, Patricia, is that it was a small group where big things happen. And whenever you have a small group, because I've been to things that are large, and I've been to every, all in between. But whenever you've got a smaller group, man, what can take place in a smaller group is amazing.
And Cindy talked about that just yesterday when we were talking about the Asheville Christian Writers Conference.
Yes.
There's richness and a depth in a small group that you're not going to be able to as you start expanding into the hundreds or 1,000 numbers.
Yes, that's
each
right.
has its pros and cons.
Right. Each has its pros and cons. I know for us, we decided that we would never go over 40 people. And so that sounds like a very small crowd. And when you look at some of the conferences, I know the conferences that I've been to, that is a very small crowd. But in a group that big, you can really get to know people. You can do so much one-on-one, and they can contact you. You can contact them. The marketing, the networking, just the learning in a group that is smaller like that, it's a totally different ballgame. I know whenever I went to this conference, I actually called my mom during the conference, and I said, I have met my people, Mama. And a lot of times when you go to a very large conference, you're one of many people. But in this one, you're one speaker amongst a whole lot of people who understand why you do what you do. Yes. And we help each other do it better.
I'm hearing you describe 40 to 43, because we got to put the faculty in there, 43 right. people who are getting together, and they're not just having potential friendships, but we're talking about rock solid friendships within the scope of just the conference and in the future, possible business or ministry opportunities together.
Absolutely. I have spoken with so many of these people who I met through Christian Communicators Conference. I've flown to South Carolina and spoken. And so I have had so many connections, Florida, and spoken. So many connections to speak, to network, website work, all video work, all kinds of work that comes out of meeting all these speakers from all over the United States.
I'm getting excited. All my questions want to come out at the same time.
We have plenty of time to talk, girl.
Speak of which, we have a lot to cover, viewers, so we may run this a little bit over. Just don't be alarmed, because you're going to want to hear every single thing we're talking about. So tell us, what does anointed and appointed mean? Is that the theme for 2019 or for always the theme for the conference?
That's the theme for 2019.
Okay.
And with that being said, when, speaking is the number one thing that people are so fearful of. I know when you've got someone who says, oh my gosh, to get up in front of people is one of the scariest things. I can't even imagine how you can do that. Well, I will tell you, those of us who are called to get up in front of a crowd and speak, we do that because the impossible is always possible with God. We do that because we know that God has called us to do this. And we want to do it as good as we can. And we want to do it to glorify the Lord. That's why it's the Christian Communicators Conference. Because it's more about Him and less about us, because that's how you're successful.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And viewers, just because you see someone standing on the stage and speaking to the crowd does not mean that they were natural from their mother's womb, okay?
Right.
We have to work at it, don't we?
You always have to work at it. And you have to work at getting a better delivery. You have to work at better content. You have to work at better, as times change, words change.
True.
So we have to be very careful of the wording that we use a lot of times and make sure that it is relevant to the audience that we have. I know I speak to different ages all across the board. And one of the things that I have to really look at is, do I have a group of ladies who are, I'm not going to call them senior adults, I'm going to call them older than they used to be. So if I'm looking at that age group, I'm going to use a totally different delivery than if I'm talking to women in their 20s and 30s. So you really do have to gauge what age your audience is. And that's something that that's a whole topic that we talk about.
That's an excellent point, because it's not, if we just get, that's just a point that is not, doesn't come to us naturally. We just think, well, I've got the message and I'll go deliver it. And every ear that hears it will hear it the same. But that's not true, is it?
That's exactly right. No, every ear that hears it does not hear it the same. And a lot of times, like I just spoke this past weekend to a very large group, and there were women of all ages in there. I think the youngest was a teenager. The oldest lady was probably in her mid-80s. And one of the things that the young woman said was, some of your information I didn't understand. She said, but some of it was exactly what I understood. But the best part about it, Tammy, was that I was watching my mother and my grandmother laugh their head off. She said, and I may not have known whatever that throwback term you used was. She said, but I laughed so hard just watching them laugh. I believe a merry heart does good like medicine. And so I taught middle school for a long time, Patricia. That was where that was my first audience, 12 and 13-year-olds. And so I learned a long time ago that if I could make people laugh, they would listen to anything that I had to say. And I use that in my classroom as well. Now, every one of us at the Christian Communicators Conference, all three of us are very different in our delivery, in our different marketing ways, but we do it the way that God has designed us to do it. Because not everybody is a funny speaker. Not everybody is a serious speaker and not, but the thing is, everybody is called to be the kind of speaker that God has made them to be. And one of the things, I use a lot of humor, but I always get to the heart of the message. I always get to the meat of the matter, which is always Jesus.
Hallelujah. Always. Can't go wrong with Jesus.
And everything, and every one of us, Lori's message, Sherry's message, my message, and how, because we do all kinds of breakout sessions and we all three teach. So they get to see different styles of speaking whenever they're there.
I really like that. And since the group is small, limited at 40 attendees, then you don't need to have 75 faculty members, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that cuts down on your logistics too, doesn't it? The challenges of the logistics and so forth.
It does. Every single one of us has different jobs and responsibilities that we do. And I will tell you that God put us all three together because it works beautifully. Beautifully.
I want to come back to these notes because I want to talk about you. You've got Tammy Whitehurst, Sherry Boruff, Sherry Poundstone. How did the three of you meet, and how did it go from three gals enjoying each other around the coffee table to putting on a conference, purchasing and putting on a conference?
Actually, Vonda and Carolyn, the ones who owned it before, whenever they were getting ready to sell this conference, you had to be a person who had attended this conference to even be able to buy into it, because you had to realize the impact that it had on you as a speaker. And I firmly believe that if it makes an impact on you, then you're going to believe in it. You're going to do better at it when you sit on both sides of the table. And so I've sat on the table as an attendee, and so I know the questions, and Sherry does too, and Lori does too. We know the questions that they have because we had the same questions. And I will tell you that whenever they chose the three of us, because several people had applied, we actually applied to buy this, because several people applied to buy this conference. And Vonda and Carolyn had prayed over it, and they chose the three people that they wanted to take over this. And it was me, Lori, and Sherry. And we are all three very different personalities that work. Every one of us work very well together. And we know that God orchestrated that.
That's a real honor for the people who have created this conference to then choose you and select you. I mean, this was not happenstance. You weren't lucky. You didn't fall into it. For the people who have created. Whoop, there we go. Hey, Carol Jackson, so good to see you. I think Janelle, you're popping in there, but I can't see you right now. But I saw your name. So good to have you. So your specialty is humor with rich truth. What is Sherry's and Lori's? What are their two specialties if we put them in that kind of a category?
Sherry is very good at Bible study work. Sherry is very good at delivering messages through Bible study, that kind of thing. Lori gets straight to the heart of the matter with feelings, and Lori really can pull an audience in from the heart. Yes. Sherry is so good. She's a theologian. You know, she knows, she can put it together that way. And as far as my delivery, yes, I do use humor, but it takes all three of us and all of the different approaches, because a lot of times people will say something like this to me. Well, I'm not funny. Well, that's, every speaker is not funny. Yes. You know, I listen to Sherry, and Sherry will do things sometimes, and she'll speak in a way sometimes where the depth of it will just really grab hold of you. And then Lori will speak in a way where it touches your heart, and all of a sudden you see a woman has a tear rolling down her cheek. That is, every one of us is just, it's so different, yet you can tell how it's perfectly together.
Very symbiotic, it sounds.
It is. It is.
How long had you known each other before you started this venture?
I did not know Lori. As far I know, can you imagine going into business with somebody that you really don't know? Exactly. But I knew Sherry because Sherry actually went to the conference at the same year that I went. And Sherry, one day I was sitting by myself and I was outside and I was actually singing on the balcony, and I walked in because it was very early morning and I'd had some quiet time with the Lord, and I walked in and Sherry's sitting on a couch by herself, and she said, you know, I think one day that you and I are going to work together. Now, I thought she meant that I would fly there or she would fly here to Texas and that we would speak together at a conference, because both of us are full-time. All three of us speak full-time. And so I thought that that would be something where our cross paths that way. Whenever I found out that Sherry Poundstone had been chosen to be one of the owners, it was one of those moments where I knew what she meant before when she said that. I had no idea, and she didn't either. But God's design is amazing.
Are you telling me that the three of you were individually chosen?
We were.
That is crazy.
I know it is, and we've actually talked about that.
That is crazy.
We said, who would do that? Who would go into business with people that they didn't know personally? But we really, it just seemed so right. And when you see the three of us work together and how we work, and it took, Lori is our technical person. And Lori does all of our computer work. Lori does a lot of the behind the scenes things. Sherry does everything financial and and the organization of it, all of that end. And then I usually am the one that is dealing with the social end of it a lot of times, and calling venues and getting all of that together. But we didn't even appoint those duties to each other. We each have different gifts that the Lord has given us that we brought to the table, and they just worked out that way. So no, it's a very unconventional way of how we got this business, but we have no doubt that it's a divine appointment.
Yes. That is an amazing story right there. That's just amazing.
And you know, Patricia, that's what we go into it with every person who comes to this. We pray about the women who will attend this conference because we want it to be divine appointments for them. We want them to be able to come to this conference and to leave different than they came, knowing that they were supposed to be there.
And that changes you, doesn't it? In a way that you're never going to go back.
Yes. So many times speakers will tell us, after going to the Christian Communicators Conference, I felt like my life as a speaker was completely launched.
Yes. Oh.
And we pack it in, girl. As far as we had so many different conference topics and breakout sessions, and we're so happy this year because we actually have Redemption Press, who is one of our sponsors, and they're going to be there. And so they're going to be doing one-on-one meetings with the women who have questions about books. Because, you know, really, Patricia, every speaker is a writer, and every writer is a speaker. You just have to figure out which one you are first. But we fit into both because you have to write every talk. You have to blog. And a lot of times your speakers are extroverts. Your writers are introverts. Your writers need to learn how to promote their book, and they need to be able to speak. So that's the angle that we take with the writers. And your speakers need to be able to learn how to get those words into devotionals, into blogs. And so we're so excited that Redemption Press is joining us this time and going to have a breakout session. And with it being only up to 40 people, the best part of that is they get to know Athena, who's the owner of Redemption Press. They get to know her, and they get to one-on-one talk to her, spend time with her, and ask all the questions they need to about the book process.
And that is a priceless gift right there.
I agree.
And viewers, we're talking about Athena Dean Holtz.
Yes.
And she's very well known in the industry. If you happen not to know her, look her up because she's very knowledgeable and will be helpful to you. I think Kathy Green has joined us. Let's see what else we've got going on over here on Facebook. Carol Jackson says, what a beautiful story regarding your business partners, are you referencing Sherry Cowell and Lori Copeland? They are two of my favorite people. Not
No,
at this
it's
time.
actually Sherry. Yes, it's Sherry Poundstone and Lori Boruff is who I'm talking about.
Yes. Thank you for the clarification. And Carol, we mentioned that earlier, but I know that different people connect at different times, so I'm so glad you asked. We're talking about Tammy Whitehurst, 3 owners, Tammy Whitehurst, Lori Tracy Boruff, and Sherry Poundstone. Everybody that my normal MO is to add links after the program. So don't feel like you have to write everything down. I'll be posting those for you, all the references that are mentioned. Let's see. Now, let's go back to the conference, the 4 days and 4 nights, all-inclusive price. Some might not understand what that means. Will you explain that to us, please?
That is your food. That is your lodging. That is all of your sessions. That's everything. Now, they have to pay for their transportation to get there. Mm-hmm. But after that, it's all covered. But the best part about this is, this was one of the reasons why I thought it was one of the best conferences I ever went to as an attendee. Because in that price, you get a 5-minute video. And it's a professional video. Mm-hmm. Yes, and you know yourself, video work, when you're hiring somebody, a professional videographer to come and do video work, that's very pricey. Yes. Mm-hmm. We work on a 5-minute video, and the thing is, some speakers, they talk. Writers, they're thinking, have I got enough words to say 5 minutes out loud? Speakers are saying, world, am I going to narrow this down to 5 minutes? Mm-hmm. We actually work with them in appointments that they'll make it in the evening, and we talk about their 5-minute talk. And so we polish that up. We get it to where it is so good, and then they get up in front. They'll be on a stage with curtain, backdrop, the whole thing, and then all of the attendees are their audience. And so it's as if they're at a conference, and they are, yes. And they are talking, and it is great video footage to put on a website, to send to event coordinators. It's great video footage. And then they can get openers, and they can get enders on it. They can do the whole thing. They can get their website run across the bottom. But there are some additional costs if they want to do additional things that they have to talk with the videographer about. But the raw footage, 5 minutes, and that's valuable. I know when I go and speak, a lot of times if I can get 5 good minutes that I can upload to YouTube or I can use for advertisement, then I love that. But when I've had to go to a studio and get that done, it's very costly. Along with that, included is also professional headshots. Mm-hmm. You know that a lot of times the speaker will have a picture that she's taken on her iPhone or something like that, and they're using that on their website. Mm-hmm. And that is not a good enough quality to use. Or to send to an event coordinator who's needing to put it on a flyer. Yes. So we actually hire professional photographers, and the photographer will come in and they'll take great shots, and you will have about 5 to choose from. I mean, you get all 5, but that is included in the price as well. So they get headshots, they get the video, they get the lodging, the classes, the food, all of that is included in the price.
I love that, because a lot of places you pay, it's almost like a cruise where you can get on the boat, but then everything that you do, you got to have some cash on.
That's right. That's right. And we are not like that at all. We're not like that at all. They get themselves to Colorado Springs, and a lot of people will drive. And then you've got people who are flying to Denver, and you've got people who are flying to Colorado Springs, and we make sure between all the women that are coming and us, we make sure that there is no one left at the airport. And that's a good, no one's left behind. Yeah. But that is a great thing about it being limited to 40 women, because we make sure that everybody is there. You're not a number, you're a name.
And we all want that, don't we?
Yes, we want. And, a lot of people will ask a lot of times, Patricia, they'll say, well, is this just for advanced speakers? Or advanced speakers will say, is this just for beginning speakers? No, this is for all speakers, because these are those who are just starting, These are those who are already full-time. I know whenever I went, I was already full-time. But being with women who understood why I did what I did and understanding how we do what we do and why, I mean, just the conversations that can take place. We know how to pray for each other. Yeah. We know the things that each and every one of us need help on, need to work on. So I just love that it's a small number.
Well, I'm hearing that you're a fan of this conference. Is that true?
You know, but you know what, Patricia? If I had not been as an attendee, I wouldn't have seen that end of it.
Absolutely. So we've got more to talk about. And some of the things we've already mentioned, we're going to go back and loop around, okay? Several of the session titles, what I particularly liked, a few of them were particularly clarify your ministry, focus, and mission. Use the stage to your best advantage. Very few people are talking about that, Tammy. One more, develop necessary speaker forms. What does that even mean to us, Tammy?
That means whenever you have an event coordinator contacting you, you need to be able to respond in a professional way, send the right forms in, because that's what they want to see. And, you know, we do have a lot of conference topics, everything from creating catchy titles, because your talk needs to have a catchy title, to have knowing your audience, engaging your audience, defining and formatting your message. Because sometimes if we get off on too much of a rabbit trail, it's not even what we said we were going to talk about. So we really talk about how to pull your message together. We do social media. We talk about branding, marketing, websites. Can you still hear me, Patricia?
Yes.
Okay, I'm making sure that we can still hear. But we talk about speaker agents and the percentages that go for that. We talk about building your platform. We talk about how to have that first event. If you are a beginning speaker, how you begin to get your name out there, how you begin to be a speaker and get up on a stage. And we talk about hosting your own events, things like that. We have a lot of speaker fees talk, because that is the one area as a speaker that is a very difficult thing to talk about, is when you begin to negotiate fees back and forth. We talk about resources. We talk about how to get booked and then how to get rebooked. And we also talk about presenting your message with flair, things to do, things not to do. You know, as a speaker, you do not want to read to your audience. I just recently went and heard an incredible speaker whose content was amazing, but she read it. And I thought, because the content was so good. But after we have had session after session, and you have learned so much in the 4 days that you're going to be there, we have a thing called red carpet night. And every woman loves it. Whether, you know, we had a woman last year who was there from a cowboy church. And even she loved dressing up and coming to red carpet night. And that's where they get they go through the certification process. And that's where, if you want to wear sequins, we saw everything from blinged up. That's right. From blinged up to church attire, whatever you wanted to wear. But you do actually walk down the red carpet, because after 4 days of this conference, you have learned so much, and you leave with so much more than you came with.
Yes. I really appreciate that you just mentioned that you start with people who have never stepped on a stage before, because there are lots and lots of places where you can learn once you've got momentum going.
That's right.
How do you get from 0 to 60? And if nobody helps you, you can flounder there for years.
And then you go to a conference and you have all these ideas, but where do you begin? How do you even do all that whenever nobody's calling you to be their keynote speaker? So we talk a lot about that. But like I said, it's not just for beginning speakers. It's also for full-time speakers, so that you are with people who are your kind, or as we call them, this is our tribe.
Yeah.
So just the help that you will get. I know that I have, like I said earlier, I have gone to other states and spoken just from the women that I have met through the Christian Communicators Conference. And I'm not the only one. There are so many of these women who end up connecting with each other, networking, marketing, and they're speaking at conferences together. I spoke in South Carolina with a lady named Sherry who I met at the Christian Communicators Conference. Had we never gone to that conference, we would have never spoke together. Yes. I've spoken in another one with a lady named Becky Carpenter here in Texas and met her at a CCC conference. You also recommend each other because you hear each other speak. And so if someone calls me and I'm booked for that date, well, I've heard 39, 40 speakers, and I can make recommendations for them to call other people because I know them one-on-one after that, you know.
That makes you more valuable to the event planner, and it blesses the recipient as well. Everybody wins. That's exactly
right. And that is just 2 of the speakers I've spoken with, because I have spoken with more speakers than that I've just met through the Christian Communicators Conference. I actually had, and this is not uncommon, I had a lady last week ask me for recommendations because I was already booked, and she said, can you give me recommendations from your speakers conference for people who I can take to my panel? I love being able to do that.
Yes. Let me check. Tracy Bradford is here, and she has a comment. I'm a writer first and mostly introverted, but God is calling me now to also use my music, not just with songwriting, but as a singer. Are there courses or sessions that address how to work through stage fright, whether speaking or otherwise?
Tracy, is that her name?
Tracy.
Tracy. Not necessarily a session on just singing, but stage fright, yes.
It will carry over.
So we do talk about stage fright and how to overcome that, but also we have a singer who will be there, and every day we open with worship music. I left that out. We have a worship moment at the beginning, and we also end the day. In the late evening, we have worship then as well. So we do recognize the importance of that. And I know as a speaker, I always will ask event coordinators, I'll say, do you have someone singing before I get up to speak? Because the power of music to a speaker is incredible.
It really opens the door to the spiritual, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It gets everybody ready. And a lot of times people come in, and whenever they're coming into a conference, they may be overwhelmed, overloaded, overcommitted. They want to jump overboard. But once they begin to worship through song, it calms their spirit. They get that peace. That's right. They come together, like the song "Come Together" right now over me. It's they come together. That was a throwback. You knew that song, though, didn't you?
I knew that.
But it all comes together, and then they're ready for what the speaker is about to say. The value of music is incredible.
So let's look at the starts on Monday at 4:00, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday are all 3 very full days. And I like that you have an end goal for every day. On Tuesday, you're talking spend the entire day on the 7 powerful P's. On Wednesday, business boot camp, which has got to be covered. You're not doing us justice if you don't tell us how to start this thing going. And
that's exactly right.
And then 3 is the big day 4, the third full day, but the 4th day of the conference is Thursday, March the 21st, and it's the big reveal. But every day, in addition to what that day's focus is, you're also including and getting us closer and closer and closer.
Yes.
Prepared for that videotape at the end of the day.
That's right. That's exactly right. And that is the one thing that so often now your seasoned speakers, your people who have been doing it for a while, they can't wait to do the 5-minute video. For a lot of them, because they pay as much as this conference costs for just 5-minute video.
That's right.
A lot of times they pay that amount and more. but the people who are just beginning, that is the thing that they're most nervous about. And one of the things that I will tell them, I just talked to a woman the other day who was considering coming, and she said, Tammy, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I said, but by the time we do it, you will know what you're supposed to talk about.
Yes.
Because that's what we lead up to successfully taping, successfully recording your 5-minute video that can be used for so many things.
Mm-hmm. I just love that. A lot of times if somebody does have, my nose is itching, I must be fixing to have company. That's what my mama says. A lot of times when there's a videotaping add-on, it is an add-on, and you have to already know what you have to be prepared, know what you want to say. And it's not a focus of the conference. It's just something you can do if you want to, like take your picture outside by the lake. Well, if you want to, fine. If you want to videotape, that's fine. But this is not, it's intertwined in the whole purpose of the conference.
It sure is, because if someone wants to hire you as their event keynote, breakout speaker of whatever kind they're needing for their conference, they want to see you in action.
And that's a fair request.
Absolutely, it's fair. Because word of mouth is the best advertisement, but then they want to hear your mouth. They want to hear what you do. And this is the kind of video you can upload to YouTube. Like I said, you can use on your website. You can send it to them. So it majorly helps.
Yes.
You know, it majorly helps being able to send it. It's a deal breaker, because it's the thing that can make them, they've heard this woman is a really good speaker, but this lady had a video. Let's go with her.
Yep, exactly.
And so that's right. And so that's why we need video footage. And that is what we prepare them for. But there's a lot of other things besides that, you know, that are good. But we do lead them up. We do not just teach them about everything and then throw them in the water when it comes to the video. No, we're preparing them all along the way for the video.
Let me run through the 6 additional, which you've already alluded to, the professional headshot. This is all included in the price. Once you pay the price, right, you get all of this: food, lodging, the conference registration, and these other elements too. Professional headshot that Tammy's mentioned, a professional 5-minute video that she's mentioned. Redemption Press, which is a publisher. Athena Dean Holtz is in charge of that. She's the owner of that. And she's going to be on site, as Tammy mentioned earlier. You get a graduate logo, so you can put that on your social media and your website to let people know, I've been to this conference and I've excelled. One-on-one coaching, which we need to talk about, and unlimited support from the community. Tell us a little bit about the one-on-one coaching, please.
They will actually sign up for time slots. And those time slots are whenever they will come in. They may choose to come to me, and then they may later choose to go to Sherry or Lori or however it ends up being. But they will come to us for one-on-one. And we'll have a podium in there, and we'll run it through just like they're doing a 5-minute talk. We will critique, positive critique, encouraging critique, because we've got to have that. And, you know, as a speaker, if you do not want to be critiqued, I know whenever I speak, there's one woman in particular that I take with me quite a lot. And the first thing I say when I get in the car is, tell me how I did. Was there anything that wasn't clear? Was there any wording that I should have cleared up? Did I glorify the Lord in this? How? And she will be straight up honest with me. Or was there a line that didn't make sense? You know, we have to be aware, and we have to be positively, encouragingly critiqued, because that helps us get better. And that is one of the things that is so important about it. We don't have them come in for, now we say it's 15 minutes, but so often it's longer than that, because we want to take our time with them so that when they leave, they're confident. And, go ahead.
Are you saying that the one-on-one mentoring is they're on the podium behind the lectern and they're actually delivering a mini presentation?
Yes. We are actually, that's why we keep it small though, Patricia, because if you can't do that in a large conference.
No.
But they schedule those times, and they come in and they go over what they're going to talk about, and we give them we may say, you know what, well, for instance, if you're aware that you are saying,
Mm-hmm.
or you're aware that maybe you've got something that you're doing, a nervous tick that you're doing. When you're aware of it, you can get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
When you're aware of it, you can change it. And so sometimes there's a thing called the hook, and you have to hook them from the very beginning. You know that just like I do, just like a writer knows that. You have to hook them to that book at the beginning. A speaker is the same thing. You have to hook them from the beginning. So we really work on that hook in their presentation. That is something that someone who speaks full time, they know to do that. Someone who's just starting, we help them to do that in the one-on-one. But what is amazing is they get to know these women from all over the United States so well that a lot of times they'll say, I want you to come in with me. And so they'll sit on the couch beside me or Sherry or Lori, whichever person they've chosen to hear their talk, and they will help them as well. It is, you know, I just firmly believe this. When we are in competition with those that God has called us to collaborate with, that's a slippery slope.
Okay.
We are not, this is a non-competitive conference. This is a conference of collaboration where we help each other. And I know there's one woman in South Carolina who, she said, she'll call me every once in a while and she'll say, Tammy, I need you to help me with some content right here. Let's talk through this so that I can make this work. And I've called her and done the same thing. If I'm talking about a certain topic, I'll call her and say, give me your thoughts on this. We met through Christian Communicators Conference. So and she has become a great friend, but we help each other like that.
Well, let's get to the nuts and bolts so we can do this rundown. The conference name is Christian Communicators Conference. This year's 2019 is Anointed and Appointed as a speaker summit. Lasts from March 18th through the 21st. Starts late Monday afternoon around 4 o'clock and ends on Thursday morning around 10 o'clock. The location is a premium location. Tell us about that, please.
The location is at a beautiful place in Colorado Springs. And we have actually rented the entire place. That's what I love about it. And it's called the Hideaway Inn and Conference Center. The more I talk to this man who owns it, the more I know absolutely that this is exactly where we're supposed to have it. And every single time that we schedule a conference, we pray about where we're supposed to have it, and it never fails. It's always on a mountain somewhere. Oh. And we want all of these women to have mountaintop experiences. And I have no doubt that they're going to have that at Hideaway Inn and Conference Center in Colorado Springs.
So the conference is not at the same location every year?
No. Now, if we've had it at different places across the United States, we would love to have it at the same place every single year. And one day we might, because I know with Vonda and Carolyn, they always had it at the same location. When we bought it, we decided to take it to different places. I don't know which way God's going to lead with that, but we may end up having it forever in one place. But right now, we kind of take it to different places.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Well, that's that works, doesn't it?
Well, it gets your women from different areas, but you never know whenever God may say, okay, I want to have it here for the rest of the time that we're doing it. And we would love that because, to be honest with you, it makes it a lot easier to have it at the same place every year. But we're just going to leave that to the Lord on whether it's at this same place or not. But, I will tell you, I think that this place is going to be amazing.
So the registration is already open now, and there's so few spots. People need to move. If you're watching this, viewers, and you are considering praying, you feel the Lord's leading, we're not trying to rush you into anything, but we're trying to, one of the reasons that we're talking about this today and these 2 different weeks full of conference directors is to help you understand this is a time-oriented business.
Right.
Once you get to the conference, it's very spiritual, but you do need to pay attention to the calendar and the budget and all the things that take place. And I want to mention something that I often mention. If God, you feel Him calling you, step into that without being irresponsible and let him open the next door. Christmas is coming up. Now that we're talking about this before March the 1st, your loved ones and your friends, people who would support you in your church or your community, there are people who are on your side. They advocate for you in prayer. Ask them, if the Lord leads, ask them to advocate for you and support you financially to attend this conference. He may have another plan, a different, better plan. Of course, choose his way. But don't sit at home. This is the point we want to make. Don't sit at home and regret that you didn't step forward when he invited you, or that you regret you don't want to. You also don't want to regret that you had an opportunity, but you thought you had plenty of time. You don't have plenty of time. You need to pay attention to the calendar. So no fear, just making the point. Because it does seem like, what's the big deal? It doesn't start until March. I've got plenty of time. No.
We're limited. Yes, we have limited attendees. But not just that. Last year, and I know the year before, we've had husbands who actually bought this as a Christmas present for their wife.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, and if they actually sign up and they pay the whole amount at one time, there is a discount for doing that.
Oh.
Yes, there's a discount for doing that. They also have until December 1st to sign up for a partial scholarship. And the way that we have these scholarships is that these are CCC people who, whenever they've left the conference, they actually invest back in. And they donate money in so that we can give partial scholarships to different women.
I love that. And there is a deadline to that. There's an application.
Yes, there's an application online. So if they go to ChristianCommunicators.com, they can fill out the application online and they will get a confirmation, but they have to do that by the end of this month.
Okay. Got that direct link waiting for you just as soon as we're finished with this program. We are going to go over just a little bit. I warned you at the beginning.
Well, we've had a little bit of technical difficulties, yes.
Yes, we need grace.
That's
let's
right.
see if we've got any questions or comments. I don't want to leave anybody out. I think Barb. Hey, Barb Haley, how are you? It's good to see you, friend. All right, so I'm going to leave the attire question for just a moment because we've got specifics there on the attire. What about the climate and the terrain? Can you give us a rundown on that, Tammy?
They said, now, some people think Colorado it's going to be snowing, but they said that during this time in March, that typically there is no snow on the ground. But I will tell you, as a Texas girl, I know one year we had it at Lake Tahoe, and there was no air conditioning. We would have loved to have had the cool weather, but this is something that I don't think they're going to have any problem as far as cold, because they said that time of year that it's typically there's not a lot of snow in Colorado Springs. So
be aware.
I don't think that's going to be a problem, right?
And also, if I'm understanding what you said, since it's going to be at the conference center, then we're not going to have to be walking for blocks outside. Everything's going to be right there.
No, we have the entire conference center. We have the entire, as a matter of fact, we have the entire hotel. So the only people that will be there is the people from the Christian Communicators Conference. And everything is, they're not going to have to be walking half a mile or 2 blocks or having to really get after it to make sure they get to the next session. It's not like that. It's all together.
Okay. That's really a wonderful feature.
Yes. And then their room is right there on site too. So it's just nice that you don't have to stay in one hotel and then drive to the conference.
Now, are you recording this conference?
We typically do not record anything but the 5-minute video. That's what we typically just record.
And is there a Facebook group that people can join once? Is there a Facebook group? And if there is, I know there is, but I'm asking the questions. Is it available to the public, or is it exclusive for the people who have signed up and paid their fee?
It's exclusive to those who have put their deposit down. When they put down a deposit, yes, and the deposit is $250. Once they put down the deposit, they will be invited into the Facebook group. That's where they begin to meet everyone, and they're meeting them early, so they already begin to get to know them. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because when we begin to watch, everybody starts sharing their stories, and then they start coordinating flights so that they end up at the airport at the same time. Mm-hmm. What you do is you see friendship in the making is what you see.
Edie Milson and Diane Mills from the Mountainside Marketing, and they were on, and they talked about that very same thing happening. It's a community. Yes. When they step in the door, they're already a community.
Absolutely, and that's what it is. And you're meeting people that you've been talking to on this Facebook page for a few months. And you've shared your story, because that is one of the things that we say is, if you already have a website, if you already have begun your ministry, tell us about yourself. Mm-hmm. And then that is how we actually communicate with them. And we will remind them every single step of the way of what they need to bring, what they need to do. That's where we actually we don't bombard their email addresses.
Okay.
What we do is we put all announcements and everything on that Facebook page.
Okay. So that's really a value.
But it is. Yes, and it is it's a private Facebook page for the people that are going to the conference in 2019 only.
Okay, all right. So now let's talk about the attire, because there is the awards night. Then there's the videotaping before that. I mean, help us walk through what kind of. Well, you can look on the website, viewers, and see a little bit more detail. And once you put your deposit down, and you get on the Facebook group, there'll be more discussions on it. But we're talking about business casual to learn. But we need a little bit higher quality or a higher level, let's say, maybe perhaps more professional clothing for some of the events. Can you help us with that?
For their headshots and for their video footage, they need to have nicer clothing. They really need to have what they would present in. And we really do try to encourage them to wear not plaids and things like that, because when you know, and really not trendy stuff.
That's a good point.
More classic. Yes, it's more classic, and make sure that it's solid colors. A lot of times I will say that. Now, some people have a tendency to like darker colors, some lighter colors. But solid colors definitely look better whenever you're talking about headshots and you're talking about video footage.
And the point that you just made about it being not trendy, explain to us how very important that is, please, Tammy.
And I'll tell you, well, I'm a person, you can tell by this little color I've got right here, that I do, I do like a little pop, okay? But when it comes to making video footage, what you have to remember is that you are talking to people of all ages across the board, whether they're in their 20s or 30s or whether they are in their 80s. And so you want to dress in a more conservative way so that you can relate to all ages.
Mm-hmm. Would you also add to that, go a little light on the makeup and the jewelry, bangles, jangles?
You know, I smile at that because my trademark is red glasses and usually something blingy. So really when it comes to branding and things like that, like whenever I make my 5-minute video, I will have red glasses on. Mm-hmm. I will have bling on, but you don't want to be dripping in jewels.
Yeah.
You know, there's a difference. They don't want to make their 5-minute video in a sequin dress you would wear on cruise night. Save that dress for the red carpet formal the night before. And so you're not wearing formal. Go ahead.
If you have a question, take what you want to take, and then when you get there, you can toss ideas around, and other people will give you their opinions. And the photo, to have classic with the photo, classic wardrobe and jewelry and the look and so forth. That photograph may serve you for years.
Yes.
So you don't want leave the pink hot pants at home. It's just an idea. Just an idea.
That is so true. And you know what they actually say nowadays is that you should really get your picture made once a year, no more. And don't go over 2 years and use the same picture.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we like to think that we look the same, but there is nothing worse than going to an event and people don't recognize you from your website pictures.
Yes.
Or people don't recognize you from your headshot picture.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't do a lot of photoshopping.
Mm-hmm.
We make the picture be you so that when you walk into an event, they know it's you.
Yes.
Because I've heard speakers, Patricia, where when I saw them, I thought, now you don't look anything like that picture, that kind of thing. So we got to be careful of that kind of thing as speakers and writers and all that goes along with that.
That photo will linger online once it's been posted. It will linger for years. But as you said, I've heard some stories and seen it in person. You thought you were getting a 40-year-old speaker, and when the person arrived, it looked like her mother or her grandmother was the person who showed up.
You are exactly right.
Mm.
Because they loved that picture that was taken 10, 15 years ago, and they continue to use that picture, and it's not to their advantage anymore.
And without beating a dead horse, this is a disconnect. So you've shown up, the audience is pumped up to hear you, and they're ready to support you, and they want to be blessed by you. And the very first thing that they notice is that you are not representing yourself based upon what you taught them to expect from you. That's not a way to start a conversation or a presentation.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
So let me check and see if we have any more questions or comments. And Zena, hello Zena RS, so good to see you. Kathy says, I think I'm supposed to be there. I was just looking into this the other day. Yes.
Wonderful, Zena.
Kathy, you would be a great fit for this. Kathy Green. She's an author, written 2 books, a speaker, very dynamic lady with a great story. So let's wrap this up. In a recent, I lost you. Let me go back over here. In one of your recent Facebook posts, you say, a small quote from a bigger post, billboards will tell us the things we cannot live without, but they lie. Relationships are what we cannot live without. Why do you say that? I know the answer, but why do you say that?
I'm just so impressed that you read that devotional that I have.
I do my due diligence.
Oh, of course you do. But relationships, we can read billboards all day long, but relationships is where it's at. And that's where, this is more than a speaker's retreat.
Mm-hmm.
This is a retreat on so many levels, and it begins with relationships with everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, when we are in competition with other speakers that God has put in our life to collaborate with, we're doing it for the wrong reason. So that's what this conference is all about. Collaborating, learning. I learn all the time how to be a better speaker, because I thank the Lord every day that He's given me the ability to do what I do, and I love what I do. I never knew that He was going to start me out as a junior high teacher and that this is what I would be doing.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look back, you see the trail that He has taken you down to end up where you are now. And it involved relationships.
Mm-hmm. And then even going further, and as we go further in the next days and the next decade and the next stage of our ministry, still the same process, still the same fundamental truth, isn't it?
That's right. That's right. This is about your ministry.
Mm-hmm.
And the entire conference is about your ministry and how God wants to use you in that for His glory.
Yes.
This is not a conference that is me.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what the conference is. This is about a conference where He uses us to show people Him. That's what this conference is about.
Okay, I just got chill bumps all up down my arms. Thank you so much for joining us today, Tammy. It was so appreciated.
I've enjoyed talking to you.
Oh, good. That's the way it's supposed to work.
Thank you. One day we're going to sit down and have coffee together. One day. You know, if you know Marnie Swedberg, you may be familiar with Marnie Swedberg, womenspeakers.com. I know that with Marnie Swedberg, when I spoke in Minnesota, Marnie and I made an appointment to have coffee together. And so I really think that one day you and I may have coffee together, my friend.
I accept that invitation.
All right.
Well, it might be a challenge. It might be an invitation. I accept it either way.
There you go.
Barb Haley, let's see if we have any comments or questions before we go. And we do. Barb Haley says, I love to speak, but have never pursued the dream to do so. What would be my first step? That's a great question to end with.
Well, let me just tell you, Barb, when God calls you to speak, you know that he's calling you because it doesn't go away. And I'm going to tell you, cemeteries are filled with speakers who never spoke. So, Barb, don't die with buried treasure, my friend. Don't die with buried treasure. And as scary as it may be, no matter what age you are, Barb, no matter what age you are, we have speakers that come in. We have one lady who this year, she said, when she was talking to me, she said, I'm 75 years old. Is it too late to begin? I said, it's never too late for a fresh start. It's never too late to do what God is calling you to do. So I hope to see you, Barb. I hope to see you in 2019.
Barb is an author several times over. She's very talented. Everybody that knows her loves her. She's got a lot going on. Let's see, Lori. Oh, there's some lady on my Facebook page named Lori Tracy Boruff.
I love that girl. I call that girl friend.
Oh, she says, I cannot wait until March and meeting our new CCC Colorado 2019 sisters. God picked them. We love them.
That's right.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much again, Miss Tammy. We need you to come back. I'm just issuing the invitation right now as the Lord allows. And speaking of which, viewers, Tammy is going to join us. We've already got her on the books. We're going to talk specifically about her ministry, her work, and so forth. Today was mostly about the conference, and that's the way it's supposed to be. That was our master plan. Really, it was God's master plan. So she's going to join us again. We're so glad that you were here today. We just appreciate you. No need for us to be here if you're not here.
That's right.
This has been Marketers on a Mission, episode number 169. Speaker extraordinaire and conference director Tammy Whitehurst. Tomorrow, I'll share a review of the 4 conferences that we've learned about this week. And if there's time, a preview of the next Conference Directors Week, which is scheduled for the last week of November. This is not apples and oranges. This is not going to be, that's not possible. You've already seen, if you've watched every day this week, we're talking about 4 very unique conferences, very unique styles, locations, price ranges, offerings, conference directors, but all wonderful in their own unique way. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. We're here every weekday at 12 Pacific, 3 Eastern. This program is designed exclusively for you to help you learn the craft of professional speaking and writing so that you can take it online, your message online. God has gifted you with it. He has called you to it. That means he has prepared you or will prepare you because your audience is online. We must get comfortable with being online, technology and social media and all the things that might intimidate you. Just imagine a day where they don't intimidate you and you're rocking and rolling for Jesus online. Until next time, I'm Patricia Durgan, and we thank you for being here. See you tomorrow.